Do you hear me?
Hey.
Hey, it's Lori Cardille from Day of the Dead.
Hi, Lori.
Lori. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, great. Yeah, I know that Scott's calling in, too. He should be calling in.
Scott, you're on, too. Yeah.
Hey, guys. How are you?
You're on.
Great.
Good. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, no problem.
Sure.
No, we were being a little goofy, so we said that we'll grow up a little bit and be a little bit more serious for you guys.
Oh, okay. That's what we like, serious. Right, Scott? We're very serious.
Yeah, I'm putting my serious face on right now.
Oh,
so,
good. Okay, me too. I was just playing Angry Birds on my iPhone, so now I got to put that aside and be serious, too.
Well, I'm going to put...
What are you going to do?
Anyway, I was going to set my drink down and be all serious.
I'm just kidding. We don't have to be serious.
Thank you guys for calling in. And
well, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
And we'll Scott, you and Lori have a project in the works, and just want to tell us about it a little bit, and we'll go from Scott to Lori.
Sure. It's a horror film, and we're trying to get investors, so we're working on a short film right now, and it's based about these human replica soldiers that are being built by two scientists who lost their son in a war. So they're kind of trying to make a human replica that looks like their son to pay homage to him in a sense. And it's all wrapped in a horror film, of course, with socially aware issues, political issues, as far as trying to bring the truth back home. I think it's something that a lot of people desire, and so I think it has a wide variety of things that just about anyone can like in a horror film. And it's a horror film in a serious tone to where it's dark, creepy. You don't see that a lot with a lot of independent or mainstream films nowadays. Nowadays you have a lot of horror comedies or films that are not effectively scary, and so we kind of wanted to bring a dark and, I guess, serious tone to the film, and that's what we hope to bring when it gets released in the next upcoming weeks.
Yeah, it's a really interesting project. I've been watching Scott online, watching some of the things that he's been shooting, and I've always loved his cinematography. I thought he had an interesting voice out there in the horror genre, and he was very persistent, and I appreciated that in him. He was not going to take no for an answer, and I always enjoyed the young filmmakers. A lot of them are so talented, and a lot of the visions that I see out there, and Scott's included, are just very creative projects. And at this point, all I want to really do is things that are creative, and that one, as an actor, has a say in and helps develop it. And we got to go back to the mines where we shot Day of the Dead, and that was one of Scott's dreams. And we went there the other last week. We went, and it was wild to be back. I mean, I swear I felt like I was right back there and I was going to see Greg Nicotero walk down the street as in the hallway as a 20-year-old man. It just was such a mind blow to be there 28 years later, but it was wonderful. And we shot some things the other day, and it was very interesting, and we're being creative as we go along, and it'll be a short film, very short, that I think it will be very compact, powerful, and succinct,
And the cool thing about shooting in the mine, as a fan of Day of the Dead, and Denise knows as well, you picture, when you haven't gone to the mines, you don't know what it's about. You picture this whole world that George has set up for everyone.
Yeah.
So going there was pretty interesting. And the cool thing is that we didn't really shoot anywhere where George had set up, his shots and all the scenes that they did. We kind of had a separate area of the mine that the owner Dan was very nice to let us use, and so it's kind of got a different vibe. It's still like an enclosed feeling, but hey, George Romero, man, he's an inspiration for myself and many others, and we just love just love those dark horror films, man, because, like I said, a lot of them are missing from the horror genre today, so we feel it's somewhat our opportunity and choice and chance to just do that and bring it back. So.
What was it your plan from the beginning to go back there to shoot with her, with Lori?
Oh, I don't know.
Scott, go ahead.
No, you go on.
No, Scott, you're the one that, Scott, that was his idea from the start, is to shoot there.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up going back there. He was shooting with John Amplis, who played Fisher in the movie of Day of the Dead, The Other Scientist, with me. So there's a lot of reminiscence. There's a big nod to George in many different ways. And I think the people that liked it's just a small little project that I think will be whetting the taste buds of some of the horror fans out there.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And you guys have a fantastic website that I'm looking at right now, and for our listeners, whether they are currently in the chat room or they're going to be listening later on, you can find it at the3film.com. That's all typed out, the3film.com. The pictures are fantastic. The location, as you said, you can kind of tell that it is the same, but at the same time, it's different. Like Scott had said, the locations are just fantastic.
We appreciate that, and that's, what we hope to bring back is this kind of feeling of dread. I mean, what I like about Day of the Dead was, George's direction, of course, but also the lighting, and everything just seemed to come together. John Harrison's music, which was this foreboding, dark, very dreamlike sound that you only hear in things like Pink Floyd and, bands of that sort, and so... we're just looking to kind of bring back that vibe, but also at the same time not copy what's been done. George has done the whole zombie film thing, and I feel as filmmakers we need to kind of do something different, of course, but also bring that vibe back. It's been missing in so many horror films in like the last 20 or so years. So many generic and remakes, rip-offs, both in the mainstream and independent world. So it's kind of like, well, if we have our own money, let's say something. Let's say something with art. Let's be socially aware and really expand our minds and really share ideas. And I think what George did, was he did that back in the 80s and 1978, 79 with Dawn of the Dead. And so, I think it's up to us to kind of break free from the whole generic subplots of, let's say, like people going on a vacation and then getting off by a madman. You see that a lot, and it's because it's simple. It's easy to do. Now, if it takes time in the mind to expand and think, okay, well maybe that's getting old. So what can I do now to expand and make something much more unique, much more creative? And I think that's where the creativity lies in, as well as trying to push yourself to be a better artist. And I think it comes within that type of form and format.
I don't think it takes a lot of money to do that either. I think, certainly we're not in it for the money. We're doing it as more of an art project at this point. And I do believe, like I said, there's so many great young filmmakers out there, and Scott for sure is one of them, that have newer visions, and they're doing cutting-edge stuff. And there's so many different ways to make a movie. I heard that somebody said something about, I don't know if I read that online, Scott, or about making a movie with an iPhone,
Right.
There's so many different creative ways of shooting between higher-end cameras, lower-end cameras. There's so many different ways of portraying that mood that you're talking about, Scott. Mm-hmm. And there's so much more at our disposal that way. And even as an actor, to play to different kinds of cameras is interesting. Scott used a couple of different ways of shooting, and that was very unusual and different for me. It's also, I have to say that as soon as I walked in the cave, that smell, it was the smell that brought my memories back. It's that musty, kind of mildewy smell that we smelled for 3 months with George and everybody. Oh, my God. we were so ill, and we had so much fun, and we were in the trenches together. And it was really great being back and with John and Scott and his girlfriend and a couple of people. We were walking around. Lee Carr, who's a really terrific friend, he and his girlfriend Renee, and they're just fans of the movie, and we that were in the movie, and just walking down memory lane, and also creating something out of that, which was fun. I'm looking forward to seeing how it comes out. We're taking a chance, which, and these chances is hit and miss sometimes. We have good intentions, but, at least you take this chance that's a little bit different. Even if it fails in a lot of people's eyes, it's something that's different, and we're trying a different thing. So it'll be interesting to see. I look forward to hearing what people will think of this short film, because I'm always open to discussion. I love it. And, Deneen, it was really great meeting you in Chicago, by the way.
Oh, it was great meeting you. Actually, was very funny. I did this show right after I had met you. So if you go back and you listen, I think whichever Friday that was, you can hear myself gushing over you. So.
Aww. Aw, thank you. Well, you're pretty great yourself, I'll tell you. You have a big following, that's for sure. And you're beautiful.
Oh, shucks, you guys. I don't know if I can keep doing this show.
The great thing about Lori is, like, she's such a mother. She's so motherly in a sense, very maternal. And when you meet her, it's like you open up so quickly, because it's like the mother you never have, and so that's how I feel about Lori, in a sense. So, really sweet soul, kind woman. There's nothing bad I could say about her. She's just a hard worker, and she works hard. So, once again, Lori, I just appreciate this.
Oh, that's okay, Scott, my son. No problem. I really, like I said, I love the young people and their creativity and openness and willingness to try different things. I do feel like a mother. I am. I have two beautiful kids that are older now, in their 20s, and they're pursuing their careers in New York. And I do love being a mother. And my daughter was a year old on the set when we shot Day of the Dead. Now she's 27, an actress in New York, Kate Rogel, and she's working a lot. And Dana Ashbrook, who is her boyfriend, happened to be in a lot of horror films. He was in the original Twin Peaks. He played Bobby Briggs in Twin Peaks, but he also did Return of the Living Dead Part 2. We always laugh about it because about the other movie. He's worked an awful lot and done a lot of kind of schlocky things, but a lot of really good work. So our whole family's involved. My son's working at HBO Sports. He just did that show 24/7. So. And I'm living in New York a little bit, too. We have a place there, so I'm back and forth between Pittsburgh and New York, going back into my profession. And it's really nice to be working with some of these great young people like yourselves.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
You and I had kind of talked about it a little bit, Lori, about now that you're getting back into the acting. How does that feel?
It's like riding a bike in a way, I did keep my foot in the theater in Pittsburgh from time to time. I did work in theater. I decided to come when I came back here to raise my children. When I shot Day of the Dead, actually, I was living in New York, and it took 4 more years after my son was born to decide, because I was working a lot, and I felt like I wasn't going to be able to be there with my kids, and I wanted to be a mother and a good mother, and that was when I came back to Pittsburgh. Shooting Day of the Dead in Pittsburgh gave me a sense of what it was like to have both sets of grandparents here for me and my husband, which was a wonderful thing. And I don't regret that decision. It was a great decision. I had these great kids. But now it's my time again. And I've always remained creative. I've written a book called I'm Gonna Tell, which is a horror story unto itself, only it's a real horror story. And also, I became an artist and did installation art. So I think once a creative person, you're always a creative person. It has to come out somewhere. But it's really nice to slowly go back into the acting field. I don't know how much I'll work or what will come my way, but I'm very open to it and to see what kind of character parts are out for me as an older woman, and see what's available out there. I don't even know. I don't know what'll come up. I just take it as it comes. I love my life the way it is, and if things come my way, I'll definitely take it into consideration. But it's fun to be creative in with Scott in this way. I also executive produced my husband and I a film called Lightweight, and that will be entered in a lot of film festivals. It'll be shown probably in the middle of March, and I'll keep people posted on that. But that's another good.
Is there a website or anything for that film?
Yeah, it's called Lightweight, lightweightthefilm.com. I think it's Lightweight. Well, look up Lightweight. If you put Lightweight in and put my name in there, Lori Cardille, it'll come up the website. There's a little preview on that, and the site will be getting bigger and bigger as we come closer to finishing the film. We're editing it now and putting it together, and I saw a cut of it the other day, and it's looking pretty good. It's looking good. It's not a horror film, though.
Well, I'm on the website right now. It actually is lightweightfilm.com, and it looks great. Yeah. So everybody, all of our listeners, you can check that out, lightweightfilm.com. So
nice. We'll see. We'll see what happens with this, huh, Scott?
Yeah. No.
I look forward to filming next week. We're going to film some more.
Yeah. Yeah, we decided that we just wanted to kind of add a little bit more to the story, and how I work, and I guess some actors like it, some actors don't. Is in a way, like when you have a short film concept, of course, and you kind of get ideas. It's like an organic way of going. I know some filmmakers do this, and that this is how Loss of Hope happened. Our film, Mr. Mullen, it all started from one sequence. This is more structured. The 3 short film was more structured. But I felt the need that we need to add a couple more things about the past and, to kind of just bring a little bit more to the film. So that's why we're shooting in a week, and I look forward to it very much. So it'll be good.
And I love Scott's passion. He has a tremendous passion, and he works quickly. It's really wonderful to see. When you're on a set, sometimes it's like so, as you know, Deneen, so slow going, and you shoot maybe 2 pages a day, and so many ways to set up the shots, and that's all wonderful and good, but Scott has this like powerful vision, and it goes boom right to it. And if you see on his website, you'll see some of the beautiful cinematography that he's done. And I hope you get to work with Scott someday, Deneen. I think you'll really like him.
Yeah, really. Scott and I have actually been going back and forth for a while now, trying to figure out when I can get over there. So.
Yeah,
great.
I'm sorry, Scott.
But you do have to learn to shoot fast in independent film, right, Scott?
What's that?
you do have to learn to shoot fast in independent film.
Yeah,
it's a different kind of beast.
Well, I think what Lloyd was saying also about like it being so different was that we're using high definition digital SLR cameras, and back in the days of like 1985 and the 90s or whatnot. You had to use 35 millimeter, film stock or Super 16 or whatever the case was, especially on a big budget film like Day of the Dead. Nowadays, here's the thing: nowadays you have more access to high definition, standard definition, but the only issue is that it makes an overabundance of things. So you got to try to find a look for what you enjoy. And I guess just like music, it's subjective, Some people love the slashers that, like I said, take place in the, where kids are getting off one by one. There's a killer on loose. Some people love that, and some people don't. So it's really subjective, and as is the equipment. Someone might love using standard definition and might not want to go to high definition and use a digital SLR camera. And others might always just be interested in shooting on film, and maybe that's all they do because they feel that it's changed too much. So, it just depends on the person, I guess. And, I think high definition really brings a crisp and clear visual that, if you use standard definition, it's not as crisp, not as clear. So using high definition is really something that I think a lot of filmmakers should strive for, because those cameras, like there's a Canon 7D, I think, is like 2000. So, just save up a little cash, buy a camera, and start making movies. But also remember, that's not always the camera. It's always the story, and it starts with a strong story. Because without that story, it's just going to be a beautiful thing and nothing else. You can have the best-looking camera, not know how to use it, not have a story, and it's going to lack. So I think it just, if you're making independent films, just learn to tell stories. That's what it's about, is storytelling. And I think someone like George told a beautiful story in Day of the Dead. I think it's one of the best horror films of all time because of everything coming together. So.
Well, thanks, Scott. It's funny because there's a lot of controversy about that. A lot of people don't like Day of the Dead because, especially when it first came out, because it was so talky and it was more about the character development and there wasn't as much gore as the others. And I don't know, but the test of time has proven it to be appreciated more, which is a lot of times it goes along with his work. George's work. He's kind of ahead of his time. And it's really nice to enjoy the younger people that have found Day of the Dead. I love. I love listening to people talk about it, even if they disagree. And I remember when it opened in New York, we had the first screening with an audience. The opening. The audience booed at the end. It was awful. Yeah, they hated the ending. It was terrible. But and in those days, doing horror films was not so, your agent wasn't as happy about you doing a horror film. Now it's a whole different story, but it was a different story way back then, too, I must say.
Yeah, my thing with Day of the Dead. Oh, go ahead.
Everyone's like,
how did you handle that, Lori?
With hopefully with graciousness, but it was kind of hurtful. We'd worked hard. I believed in the project, and George and I came really from a long way away to the final product when it was over. And there was a lot of time there developing it and doing it and creating it. And so you always feel kind of sad about that when something isn't quite appreciated, but. That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of this business. Not some things people don't like at the time, but like I said, it has stood the test of time, which is really a surprise to me and a joy. Actually, I feel like I was a part of a body of film that will, kind of live on, and has lived on a bit. And
a lot of people also thought, I think, with the ending that it was a dream. I don't know why people think that. I don't think it was, because when you see them run to the helicopter, of course you had that one final scare, but I think that it all did, I don't know. Some people, for some odd reason, thought that it was a dream. Lori,
that's exactly what happened. Yeah, people thought that, and that's why they booed it.
Right. Because I think at the end when you're marking off on November 4th, or whatever the date was, and the music kicks in, and you feel it's fantastic ending. At least I like it. I think, Janine, you probably like it as well. I think it's a great ending to that trilogy at the time, to be quite honest. I don't know. A lot of people...
I thought George should remake it. Not remake it, but to continue it as the characters, see what those three characters that ended up on the beach, do a really dark film about, when I first talked to George about doing the part, years ago, I said, why don't we make her... like the really apocalyptic, that she is like the teeth are coming out and her hair is messy, and he said that's a different kind of film, Lori, and we laughed, but maybe we could make that film again. I do want to put that past George, talk to him about that, because I think that could be a good film. I think it would be an interesting thing to see those three characters, and maybe one's a zombie. I mean, maybe I don't know, whatever happened to them, and to do it more realistic as far as how they would really look, sort of like Danny Boyle's film, 28 Days Later, any kind of apocalyptic, dark, the road kind of feeling,
Mm-hmm. But, with Day of the Dead, more than any film, and you bring up a good point, I know I personally have always wondered what happened to Sarah and the other characters, because it's such a, in a way, it's so depressing, you wonder, well, what's next for them?
I think they probably got some babies and they're soaking up some sunshine somewhere.
That's what I love. fans like you that keep it alive. You remember the lines better than I do.
Yeah, but
I appreciate it.
Like I said, there's a world, that you kind of, as a viewer, we of course weren't there for the time when the film was being made. I was, I think, when it was released, 3 years old, of course. So
right, exactly.
It's just a world that you paint for yourself because you, like even Skip said, we did a tour, and I think Skip said, well, I was watching the DVD when I was watching the film, and they were walking into one place and coming out another that wasn't even really there. So, to create a world like that is very hard for some people, but if it's done well, then I think, you paint your own reality or own world, and I think that as a viewer, that's a thrilling thing, because sometimes it's best just to have it as a mystery, but
right.
It really depends. So.
Yeah, George is a master. He was a great filmmaker, I'll tell you. He still is. I mean, I haven't seen some of his newer things, but George is George.
Do you still talk with him often?
I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but actually when Scott was when we were all together, we called George, John and I called him on the phone and left a long message, and I hope to see him. I haven't done the shows. He does a lot of shows to meet the fans, and I haven't done them. I did them on the 25th year, and once in a while I'll go out and do it for charity or something, but that's why I haven't seen George. He lives in Toronto now. He's in Canada. So between him doing the shows and living in Canada, he used to live in my neighborhood. We used to hang out all the time. But, yeah, I do miss him a lot.
Aww.
Yeah. Oh. Well, if anybody sees
Lori,
him,
still watch his movies?
Yeah. Pardon me, Brian?
Do you still watch his movies? Have you watched his newer movies?
The last one I actually saw was The Land of the Dead, when it actually they had a big opening here in Pittsburgh, and Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino came in for that with Greg.
Nice.
We had a great time. It was so much fun. And Simon came in. Simon from Shaun of the Dead. He was there also. He's a nice guy. I like him a lot. He's very funny, a nice person. So that was the last time. Whenever that opened, that was the last movie I saw of George's. I haven't seen anything since, and I really should. A lot of the fans tell me I should, and I will. I plan on it. It's not a matter of not wanting to. It's just I haven't done it yet.
Right. I also just wanted to take the time to give a shout out to Jonas Barbosa, who's a big fan of Lori's, and he just wanted to hear like that.
Oh, he's great.
He is in the chat room wanting to say hey to you two.
Right.
Oh, what a great
Jonas, got your shout out.
Yeah, and anybody in the chat room
who
has questions or would like to call in, now's your opportunity to call in and ask Lori or Scott a question. They're not going to bite.
No. Remember, I'm a mother figure.
We're not zombies. No.
Okay. Well, we have a caller for you guys, and he's been holding on for a real long time.
Right.
Okay.
Get him on. Tyrant, you're on.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Go for it, buddy.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
I was actually calling in earlier. I was trying to get in on the conversation before you guys joined in, so my bad. But I was kind of listening in. I have to admit, I have never watched all of Day of the Dead.
Well, why is that? I'm curious. Why? Because you find it boring or too talky?
Well, no. It's not any of that. I mean, I've seen the original Night of the Living Dead. I've seen the original Dawn of the Dead. It's just I've never sat down to watch all of Day of the Dead. Nothing personal. Just it's one of those movies that you always intend to go see, but you never get around to do it.
Right.
It happens.
Yeah. So yeah.
Exactly.
But I do want to ask you a question, and this is just the movie nerd in me. Which seems to scare you more, the classic slow zombies or the modern fast ones?
Who are you asking, me or Scott? Or both?
Either one or both, whichever one of you wish to answer.
Yeah, so
I think the fast ones are scarier.
Right.
The faster ones, yeah, definitely.
Faster ones. scary.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Well, no, you go on, Laura. I just wanted to say the faster ones are scary, but I think the more effective ones are the slow ones, I'd say. So.
More developed in a sense, like Bub. We were talking about Bub, the character.
We love Bub.
Yeah, what a great character that was. That was one of the great movie monsters, you know. He was terrific. You know, you get to see these characters. I think you feel more empathy and compassion for them. But I really liked 28 Days Later. I loved Danny Boyle's work, and I thought that was fantastic. That blew me away, actually. They were fast in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love those movies.
Oh, yeah. God. Wonderful.
I was also kind of curious, and I think it was something that was mentioned in the chat rooms. I don't know if maybe you touched on it, because you talked about Danny Boyle and some of the modern directors who have done these type of horror movies. Are there any of the more comedic takes? Like, have you seen Shaun of the Dead?
I loved it.
Okay, because I was just wondering, it's like, did you find more enjoyment because it spoke more to the style you were in, or just basically, it's like, have you seen any of the comedic horror movies that you kind of enjoyed as well, just start off, you know, have you ever seen comedic horror movies that you really enjoyed?
Well, the Shaun of the Dead, yeah, Simon's movie. I just thought that was so clever and funny, and there were so many nods to George and, you know, sort of inside things that I found funny. But it was just a funny movie. I thought it was quick, witted, and intelligent and bright and unusual at the time when it came out. Yeah, I loved that movie.
Okay, and you kind of touched on the second part. Again, I felt like I was throwing a 10-part question at you, but yeah, my follow-up was going to be, did you enjoy it on an extra level because you had been in one of George Romero's movies? So.
Well, yeah, I guess. It's hard to say because I don't know. You know, it's just my experience, and that was my experience. So I don't know. Did you like it, Scott?
Which one was this?
The Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I liked it. I saw him, just like him, I saw maybe 75% of it. I didn't get to see the whole thing. I was watching on TV. But from what I saw, yeah, it was really good. I think they did a lot of nods to George as well, you know. And I liked that they were slow moving, and then they weren't kind of, you know, they weren't joking around like I guess they like they did in other zombie films after that, you know. So they were pretty serious. So, but
there was an element of horror in it that was really kind of disgusting, actually. You know, there was like that underlying. It was funny and quick, but there was that underlying. Oh my God, this is creepy too at the same time.
Sure.
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
It's a very good movie. I like it because even though it's a comedy, as you said, Lori, it's very witty. It's a smart movie. It's not
It is.
one of these stupid, like, funny horror films. It was very clever.
Clever, right, exactly. And they had great actors, too. I thought they had really good actors in it.
Yes. Love Simon Pegg, Nick Frost.
Oh, I love him, too.
Very
wonderful. It was so nice meeting him, honest to God. That was a really highlight for me. Really like him very much.
Have you kept in touch with him?
Once in a while, I'll give a shout to each other. Somehow it comes through either on MySpace or Facebook or something. And, yeah, I think he got married, and, yeah, he's doing well. Mm-hmm.
He's doing really well, yeah.
Go Simon.
Yeah, he has, like, the 10-10 movies coming out and a few other things.
Oh, great. Good for him.
So,
and he's in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Right.
He's blowing up.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, the guy that is in Star Trek that plays Dr. Spock, he went to CMU, Carnegie Mellon University, where George and I went. He came out of that school, too, yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Well, do we have anybody else that would like to call in, or anybody in the chat room that has a question for either Scott or Lori?
Any questions in the chat room? Scott, I have one for you, getting back to the 3. When you get this finished, what are your plans for it? Are you going to put it on the festival circuit? And if so, like when?
Well,
when we start looking for it?
Okay, well, right now we're doing the short film, and I'm currently writing the feature-length synopsis, which is kind of based off of the short film's based off the feature-length. It has a lot of elements that are going to be in the feature-length, and we're in the early stages of writing the script. So as soon as we get that situated and the press kit and the budget breakdowns, then we're going to go to investors or we're going to pitch the film. And while that's going on, we're going to put the film online and try to fund through Kickstarter and a bunch of other online campaigns to start a little money up to put into the feature length. And, from there, you never know who sees the film. Someone could see a film and say, you know what, I want to invest $500,000. Someone could say $100,000. You don't know. So, but you do know is that there's a plan, and that plan you have to execute, and sometimes it takes time, but the main focus is to kind of create something that will sort of show investors and people who are willing to donate and fund your film what exactly the film would be, but in a shorter version. So that's why we're shooting a little more, and with Lori and one of the other actors, Jesse Lafferty and John Amplis, and we're going to be shooting a couple extra things just to kind of make it a little bit more meatier and for the short film. And then from there, we go into getting the press kit ready. So that's basically the plans for that.
Well, and it looks great. Like I said earlier, anybody that will go to the website, I think you guys are definitely on the right track.
I love
and putting it online, too. Yeah, if you guys put it online, as you said, you never know who's going to see it. There's so many people who every day is watching something online, whether it's web series, shorts, whatnot. I think that's a very smart way to go about it.
Right. No, of course.
A lot different, than when I first came around. A lot different. A lot more different options for creativity out there.
Sure.
Because it's not always about making money or, of course, the investors want to make money, and I understand that. But as an artist, for me, it's never been about making money. It's always been about a vision,
Mm-hmm. And to touch on something that you had said earlier about money, you don't need a lot of money. At least I feel this way. I do not believe that you need a lot of money to make a good film. Scott had also talked about this, too, about it doesn't matter if you have a lot of money or if you have the best camera or the best equipment. If you don't have the right people behind it, it's just going to be pretty, but it's not going to be something that people are really going to enjoy. It's not going to be a piece of art. It's just going to be there. So
it's more corporate, don't you think? At that end,
yes.
Deneen, it's just a corporate. It's like let's make a Target, or let's make some kind of product to sell to the people, rather than kind of having people be stimulated intellectually and creatively. I just think there's so many opportunities for young filmmakers to just go out and do it, like Scott. Just have that passion and follow your dreams. Just look at Paranormal Activity. There's an example. That didn't cost anything. How little money did that cost? $20,000?
Right.
And, so happened to make a lot of money on it, and then had a sequel, and we'll see where he goes after that. But there's an example of just a great idea. And a camera and a couple of actors.
Yeah, that's horror is in so many different ways. It's subjective, what exactly people like, of course, and there's I think I think maybe like 2 years ago when I was watching a lot of horror films, I was kind of like getting upset because where are the scary horror films? Where are they? Why are there not any left? It's because the same formula is being used over and over. But then I just said, you know what? It's just like music. It's subjective. There's no right. There's no wrong. People want to make whatever they want to make. That's their right. They should do that. I just think, if we're gonna strive for like a revolution of sorts, right, in the world of horror, then I think it needs to come from new and different ideas that reject that notion of the generic storyline. And so I think that's very, very crucial. And I think that kind of helps the filmmaker expand in storytelling because, like I said, the story is so important. And when you have something that's kind of like the same old thing where it's been done before to a T, and there's really nothing new except for just different names and different characters, then it becomes very, very, very redundant, very boring, very mundane. So I think it's very crucial for us to kind of come up with different ideas and creative ways to tell new stories. So I think that's the revolution of horror in a way. So.
Right, and to push envelopes, to push past your comfort zone and take a chance rather than something safe necessarily.
Right. Never be fearful of things, and just try something different. Don't try to do something just because you think it needs to be that way. I think that a lot of people get stuck in that in their own little reality of that they think like, well, I need to make this perfect, and but then you ask the question, what is perfect? I think it's all, like I said many times, subjective. So. Just creating worlds, I think, is what a filmmaker like myself and others love to do. Because you bring the audience into a world that you know more about than they do, because you're at that location, you're shooting, and it's like you're kind of enclosing them in the world, and you have to be effective about it. Because if you're not, then you're not going to be able to fully get that feeling that you're trying to portray in that environment that you're trying to put them in as a viewer.
Right. The other thing I was thinking about, how George, I would watch him after working with him, and seeing what would happen was he would have an idea and a script and be working it, and then it goes into the corporate world, and everybody wants a say, and they don't want this line, and they don't want that line, and they start to shape it until it's not George's product anymore. And I used to see him be so frustrated with that, so frustrated. It was terrible. It was almost like the corporate sucked the life out of him for a while there, There are always compromises, but I think he sort of becomes successful, and you step into this where people want to make the money around you and do the money, and it just loses some of its generic grittiness, that, and I know that was very painful for George. I think he's doing maybe more what he wants to do now, although I think he probably would like to get out of the zombie genre sometime,
Right.
But I remember